I want to take you back to last July and remind you of some of the headlines coming out of the WNBA bubble in Florida. The WNBA's bubble at IMG Academy is already a disaster, it said on USA Today. WNBA players reveal ugly living conditions in bubble, it read on Reuters. Images circulated on social media of unsanitary scenes, including a worm on the floor of one hotel room and mouse traps in laundry rooms, with two teams reportedly needing to change rooms because of bed bugs. Food was reportedly an issue as well. As the WNBA worked quickly to provide damage control and put out all these fires, how was nobody at the NCAA paying attention? Because what we saw this week from the women's NCAA tournament was practically a mirror image of the controversies we all witnessed just 8 months ago. If you missed it, and it was hard not to, the NCAA clearly dropped the ball with a number of inequities between the men's tournament and the women's tournament. It began with the weight room issue of the women getting a few used yoga mats and a rack of weights, compared to a full ballroom of equipment for the men. It continued with the comparison of swag bags and the fact that the men were receiving full buffets of food in Indianapolis and the women were getting prepackaged meals. Then the more important issue of health. While the women were receiving antigen tests to detect COVID-19, the men were given daily PCR tests, which are considered the gold standard for testing. It prompted a number of statements from longtime women's coaches, including the all-time winningest coach in basketball history, Tara Vanderveer, saying this was evidence of blatant sexism, purposeful and hurtful, and that she felt betrayed by the NCAA. Three-time gold medalist and South Carolina coach Dawn Staley also wrote a scathing letter that read in part, the NCAA's season-long messaging about togetherness and equality was about convenience and a soundbite for the moment created after the murder of George Floyd. But what really hit home to me was Notre Dame coach Muffet McGraw, who said plainly, "We have been fighting this battle for years, and frankly, I'm tired of it. What bothers me is that no one on the NCAA leadership team even noticed. We have accepted our fate for far too long. This generation of women expects more, and we won't stop until we get it." Now, under the Fairness tab on NCAA.org, there is a full section on fostering diversity and gender equity. It is simply hypocritical to promote these ideals while continuing a trend that McGraw and others claim to have been going on now for years. And what's most maddening to me is that all the red flags were there last July. Every single issue that the WNBA had in Florida should have been duly noted by those in charge at the NCAA. But instead of going above and beyond, those inequities remained. Now, there is no question that the men's tournament does bring in more revenue than the women's. But as Sally Jenkins from the Washington Post reminded all of us, the women's Final Four is part of a $500 million contract with ESPN. Moreover, the spirit and purpose of Title IX is to prevent sex-based discrimination, which means the governing body of college sports should probably do its best to make sure inequities like this never happen. Now, are we as media culpable as well? To an extent, absolutely. Everybody needs to do better. But when it comes to college athletics, the NCAA bears the burden the most. And their total lack of awareness that could have prevented these issues is simply inexcusable. And most of all, it's disappointing on so many levels. So what do you think? What was your reaction to seeing or hearing about the inequities from the women's and men's tournaments this week? You can always find me on Twitter at AaronQ13Fox or email us at aaron.levine@fox.com.